Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first live Ask Homesteady in a long time. It has been a long time since we did a live show. We got away from doing the live shows because we've been doing the Ask Homesteady every Friday and answering all the questions that have been left in the comments below, trying to get to all those questions. The last week or so, we have fallen behind. We skipped one of the Ask Homesteady editions. And then after skipping one, we did just a cow only one. And that's put us real far behind. And now here we are today skipping Ask Homesteady again. But we're going to do it live. And any of you who are here, welcome. And be sure to ask questions. Hashtag Ask Homesteady so I can see. Actually, in the live shows, why don't you do at Homesteady? Because I think that makes your comment like bold and orange. So if you want to ask a question and have it answered on today's live show, that's the best way to do it. Hey to the Larson family. Rory says hi. I'm going to pull you guys up on my phone so I can look at comments without like scrolling on the camera, because I always hate when you get that scrolling on the camera thing going on. So I'm going to do that right now. I wanted to tell you guys about a little bit of a change that we've been doing in our production, just so you can understand what's going on here. Some of you might pick up on it as we start into hunting season here. So we're going to talk about that in a second. And then, of course, like I said, we'll be answering some questions. We do a live show on Fridays, and the rare times where the day gets away from me and I just don't get a chance to record my regular Ask Homesteady edition. So today we'll do it live. The live shows take the least amount of work as far as editing goes because I just hit record and here we go. And then they're up on the internet and I don't have to edit anything. I don't have to put music to anything. I don't have to make sure the levels are correct, which I get complaints about all the time. So we figured that would be the best way today because, well, today was a busy day. I spent the entire morning, afternoon out in the woods. For those of you who know about Pennsylvania's deer season, you know that we're coming into archery season now. And me and my son have been doing a lot of prep for the upcoming archery season. We rely on venison to stock that freezer and help feed the family. And if I meet my goals for venison, we're in venison all year. So it's a great way. If any of you homesteaders out there don't own land yet, but you want to be a homesteader and do what you can to be self-sufficient, or if you own some land, but you're not able to raise your own beef or cows, or like us, you just like doing dairy cows and you don't want to do the beef cows, venison's a great way to get some good red meat in the freezer. So we were very busy with that, and that meant today, instead of recording an Ask Homesteady edition, I was out in the woods making some changes last minute to some tree stands. I put up a ground blind. I've learned through the use of our Moultrie game cameras here on this property, the deer activity right now is very quiet, so we had to go get a few other of our local hunting spots prepared in case we're not going to be hunting here. We got to have somewhere to go because I got to fill that freezer. There are almost 90 people in the show. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to run through and say hello to everybody that I can here, and then we're going to start answering some questions. So be sure to put at Homesteady. Normally it's hashtag Ask Homesteady, but because this is live, use the at sign and then the word Homesteady, and that stands out really good to me. It turns your question orange. So hello to Abby and Macy Cooking Show, Joanne, Jude, Eric, Heather, Montana Mountain Family, Jake Jacobs, Elizabeth Jr., Marlene, Joseph, Catherine Durst, Nitz, Gay, Magno, Autumn, Jude, Enchanted Forest Homestead. That sounds like a nice place to visit. They're in California. There you go. Probably is a nice place to visit. Eric and Bree, Joseph. Hey, Brian. What's up, Brian? Joseph. Again, Cluck and Bark, Melinda, Sammy, Raphael, Dan. I think that's everybody. Kelly, Fiona, if I missed you, welcome. Okay, let's get some questions answered here. They're lining up already. And it's just me tonight. I'm sorry you don't get Kay. Everybody loves the Ask Homesteadies where Kay sits with me because they're much more... well, you get all your cow questions answered. So I won't be doing much cow question answering. That was last week. So How do you want to grow your cow herd? Of course, the first question from Eric is about cows. So, Eric, I'm not sure what you're asking. How do we want to grow the cow herd? Do you mean, oh, there it is. How big do you want to grow your cow herd? If I would just take the time to read your question, it would be easier to answer. Great question, Eric. Right now, we have two cows, and that's, I think, too few. Cows are like potato chips. You just want one more? Is that how the saying goes? I think we probably will wind up with three cows who will calf, maybe two cows who will calf each year. We love having the raw milk. We love having the milk from our own cows. Kay enjoys milking. I would do milking if it was not by hand, so I'm not opposed to doing the milking machine. And as we grow the herd, I'll have to get more and more involved. I would like every year to have a couple calves to sell, and I really think our angle. This is here I go answering a cow question without K, but I like the idea of doing exactly what we got for other people. So when we purchased our family cow, we had no history with a family cow. We didn't know what we were doing. The people we purchased our cow from actually delivered her to our farm, spend the night with us, teaching us about our cow, showing us how to handle the cow, talking about hay and feed and giving her supplements to use. They did like a weekend kind of crash course on the cow, and then they left, and there we had our cow. And I think for someone who's never had a family cow, if you're doing a drinking game for every time I say the word cow right now, well, let's just hope that it's just soda. I think if you've never owned a cow, then the handoff like that is probably the best way to go because it can be intimidating. It is the largest homestead livestock you're likely to get, and it was scary for us. I remember that ladybug walking off the trailer, and I was just like, oh man, what are we doing? We're crazy. This is going to be awful. This animal, how are we going to control something this big? I was used to goats. I think it's a really nice thing to add to not only selling a cow, but the education, the handover, passing the torch. And it's your calves, you care about them. So that whole experience, I could see us doing that with two calves a year, possibly three. I even wonder if we wouldn't have the people to this farm to pick up the cow and learn about the cow and see how we do things here. I remember when we first purchased pigs, we were encouraged to go tour the pig farm, and that was very helpful. That's kind of, I think, the niche that will develop our cow herd. It'll be handing off family cows with a little bit of education, a little bit of experience, and the animal itself. And to do that, I think we probably wouldn't want any more than two or three because that would be a big elaborate thing, and there's a limited amount of people who that would be a good product or service for. So I think keeping it reasonable, that kind of size. Now, this is just my opinion. If Kay were sitting here, she might say something totally different. Sorry, Eric, you got to deal with just my answer. But we're getting a ton more questions, so I better keep talking here. Cluck and Bark Ranch. How long after I butcher and refridge chicken can I cut it up into parts for freezer? I just did mine and they are resting in the fridge, but I cut two up right away. Advice. So I think Cluck and Bark wants to know how long after I butcher and refridge chicken. So you want the temperature to come down. That's why you put it in the fridge. And then how long until you cut it up and put it in the freezer. Generally, the rule of thumb that I have found with anything meat is you want to let the rigor mortis period pass. With larger animals like deer, I generally will age them for days. With wild birds, I have aged pheasants for a week, which sounds crazy, but there's some old time heritage behind it to back it up, and it's delicious. As far as your chickens go that you process on your farm, generally what we do is we put them in the fridge until the rigor mortis is passed, so the chicken is stiff, and then the chicken gets loose again, and then at that point we put it in the freezer. That's just what we do, and you can we've been doing it that way for years, so it hasn't done us wrong yet. When we get them back from a butcher, generally our butcher's a couple hour drive. Oh my goodness, what is that? That is the biggest super chat we've ever got. Who is that? DKK, my goodness, DKK, thank you guys so much. That was a shocker to look up and see. I forgot about super chats. It's been so long since we've live streamed. Thank you very much for that. We cannot do this show without you guys' support. We have the Pioneer program for that very reason, and we get tons of support here on YouTube. Everyone who shops through Homesteady, but the super chats, I mean, those are very rare, and that was just so nice. So thank you so much, DKK. Really appreciate that. And there wasn't even a question associated with it. It was just a very nice gesture. People are very nice sometimes. Thank you. So to finish up the question, we get our chickens back from the butcher. We put them in the coolers, and generally when we get our chickens, it's been over a night that they've been refrigerated, and then we load those up into the coolers, drive home a couple hours, and then at the end of that drive, they go in our freezers. So I hope that helps. Next question, Jude. How many goats do you have and plan on having in the future? Jude, good question. Right now we have 2, and 2 is too few for goats. We really should have at least 3, and we have a third kind of in the works. Just got to make it happen. DKK is getting lots of other people saying thank you, which I think is so nice. Everyone is thanking DKK for that nice super chat. So just had to mention thank you for being thankful, people. You Homesteady fans are incredible, and it just moments like this, just so nice. Okay, let's get back to goats. So Jude wants to know how many do we plan on having in the future. Kind of the same idea behind the goats, Jude. I don't really want to have a ton of goats. I don't want to have this huge herd. I'm looking at getting to that point of 3. We have a third kind of in the works. That might, we're going to wind up getting them bred in about a month or so here. And that will put us, if we have 3, now Gizmo will not be bred in a month or so. She's too small. But maybe before the season's over, she'll be big enough to be bred. At that point, we would wind up with, if they had twins, we could have as many as 9 next year, and that's too many goats. Somebody laughed yesterday in the video I released. I'm really enjoying these Nubians. They are a very nice goat. They have quieted down, which is nice. They were obnoxiously loud in the beginning, and that's mostly because there's only 2 of them. I think if there were 3 or 4, Lacey wouldn't have been so noisy. She would have quieted down. They're a nice goat, the Nubians. They're heavy on the foot, so they don't jump over the fences. They have not ever escaped. They have managed to get the barn door open a couple times, but we figured out what they were doing and just threw a bungee around it, and that was good. Yes. So sorry, I just got distracted by something. I think if we maybe had 3 or 4 goats, that probably would be sufficient. Kind of our plan for this homestead is a lot different than what we were going to do at Squash Hollow Farm. Which, ready for this? Our old sign! I was gonna mount it today before the show. I was gonna put it up back there and maybe a deer head and a fish or something. But I'm just tired. I looked at the wall and I was like, I don't know, I don't want to move stuff around yet, so I'll do that another time. Anyway, probably less, because the goal for this homestead is not to be a farm that sells meat, rather to be a homestead that sells like kind of premier homestead livestock, but just limited quantity. I don't have any interest in selling 20 goats every year. If I could sell, again, same thing with the calves, if I could just sell 3, 4, 5 goats, maybe in pairs, because goats will do better in pairs, or at least in pairs, if not triplets, to other people, and kind of give them a Goat 101 class and teach them about what we do here and make sure they have the right fencing and everything. I really enjoy passing the torch. That's one of the reasons we do this channel. We don't have a lifetime of experience, but we do have 8 years worth of homesteading experience now. We've learned a lot in that time, and it's fun to watch people at year 2 or 3 show up and buy something, and you can warn them like, these goats, well, they're gonna give you a hard time. So if you can help them out a little bit, make their life a little easier, I enjoy that aspect of things, and it's something that we could do from here. So I think that same idea, like 3 or 4 breeder, females at every year, then we have a buck Either we own one buck ourselves, or Kay's aunt is close by, we can use her buck, and I'm sure there's other bucks in the area, so that kind of thing. Okay, next question is from Kelly, and she wants to know, how do you keep your ducks' water from freezing in the winter? I don't keep water in their coop. Yeah, duck water in the coop is a huge no-no. It's the worst. The other day, our ducks got into our chicken coop, well, you saw in the video, and it was a just disaster. It was a mess. So for duck water, we put them in those basins, those heavy duty rubber like basin things. And the reason we use those, they're black, they're thick rubber, so they don't usually freeze really solid until it gets really cold. And then when it does, all you got to do is flip it over, kick it, pop out the old water, and fill it with new water. We don't do anything really fancy with the duck water. One of the nice parts about having Muscovies is the fact that they don't have the same desire to have the water like other ducks. They do love water. They love jumping in and cleaning out their nares and everything, but they're not as water crazy, messy as some of the other ducks that we've owned, and they make less of a mess, but they still do make a mess. So that is one option. I've seen people do this with cows. Don't know if it would work with ducks. Probably wouldn't work with ducks because they would probably eat the styrofoam. But I've seen people with cows put some of that blue styrofoam over the water trough, and then the cows push down on it and the water comes up. Never tried it with ducks, but it might be worth trying something like that. The other thing you can do if you do want to keep water inside of a building or a coop is put one of those painter trays. We show that in a couple of our videos. I think the Raising Ducklings video shows that. And you put the water on top of that so the water falls into it. It's a little less messy. It does help keep things neater. Duck water. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're getting rid of some ducks, because ducks are messy and winter is coming. And yeah, ducks. Ducks. Me, ducks, goats. They're fun in the summer. Let's see. What else do we have? We have Daniel's Fresh Farm asking to be a mod. I've actually never done that, and I'm hoping we don't need a mod right now. If something gets bad, I should zoom. I'm way behind in the comments, so I should check that out. But so far, it's looked okay, everybody. We'll keep an eye on things. Let me check. Next question. Ooh, this is fun. M. Nitz grew up in Erie, PA, now lives in Texas for about 1 more month, getting ready to move to 6 acres in Georgia to finally start my own version of a homestead. What to do first? Are we still live here? Let me know if we're still live. On my phone, I'm seeing a swirly, but on this, it looks like we're still live. Looks like we're still live. And Brian's going to be a good boy. All right, Brian. Oh no, we're getting low on battery here. Sorry, the iPad has been strained with this battery. So here's what's going to happen, everybody. The iPad's going to die in a little bit, and I'm just going to disappear. So know when that happens, the show is over. We're at 20 minutes. We'll get to a half hour. Let's talk about what to do first. M-Nits, when you get to your new homestead, I have a little experience in this, just did it. Don't rush it. That's the key. Show up. If you don't have any animals, I know you're dying to get animals, so do this. Get like a chicken coop, because you have to get animals. You've been waiting so long to get your homestead. Now you got it and you want animals. So I'm not going to say don't get any animals. Get one simple thing. Don't get a cow first. Don't get goats first, please. Get a little chicken coop or a couple ducks, a couple turkeys at most. But just keep it to one. Chickens or ducks or turkeys. Don't do all three. Just whatever, or if you like gardening, maybe just start a small raised bed or two. Just something small that you can start working on and you'll feel like, hey, I'm doing it finally. And then, especially because we're coming into winter here, take your time. Observe, look around the property, learn how the sun works and the weather works, where's the wind, where are the microclimates, where do you go every day? One of the great lessons of permaculture, and I'm not a big permaculture guy, but there's some good stuff to it that you can apply even if you're not super into the permaculture ethos thing, is just zones. So where are you every day? Work on that first. If you every day walk this direction to get to your car, Put the garden on the path to the car, and that way when you come home every day, you'll just take a moment, pick the weeds out of there, and your weeding will be done every day. David Rudolph, we just got another incredibly generous super chat. My goodness. Thank you so much, everybody. I can't even. I have to see. David said, "Hey from CT, miss you guys being in state. Love the channel. Thanks for all you do." David, we don't miss CT, but we miss you CT people. Some of you. You know, David. Some of the CT people are like, eh. But no, I still have some homesickness. I still are times I can't even like think about it. But I do like where we are now at the new homestead. And for those of you who are going to the new homestead, like Mnitz, just take your time, learn the property, learn where you go every day, see what your needs are, and then start building, but build slow, pick one project at a time, and work forward like that. So say to yourself, all right, I have, this one, I want to do chickens. So first you need chicken infrastructure, right? You need a coop. You need water. You need heat out there if you're going to do chicks, especially in the winter time. Some way to keep your water from freezing. So take care of that. Then when your chicken coop is up and running and your chicks are in there, you got water, you got electricity. Now you want to expand to another animal. Don't get the animal first. Think about the fencing. Think about the housing. I want to get goats next. Okay, what are the goats going to live in? Let's focus on just building that building first. Don't buy the goats. Don't say, well, we'll buy the goats now and we'll have the building done before they get delivered, because it won't be. Just focus on infrastructure first. And if you slowly build your homestead, one project at a time, succeed with that project. At the end of that project, your homestead now works better and smoother. Maybe you're saving a little money with something. Maybe you're getting better quality product. Thing is, you'll start to have wins. If you do too much at once, you spend too much time putting out a bunch of fires. And moving here, I did a video back when we first moved here called Warning to You About to Start Homesteading. And people hate that video because they're like, you're such a whiner. Move back to the city, man. You don't know what you're doing. It's mostly people who've never seen the channel. They don't know that we've been doing it for 8 years. And it was a bad day. I was running around putting out fires. And the point of that video is to say, if you're brand new and you're going to start fresh, don't dive in, because you'll spend so much time putting out fires, you won't be able to make progress. So just one small thing at a time. I hope that helps. I'm going to try to get a couple more questions answered here before the battery kills this show. Thank you so much to our super chatters, and to all you who've joined us. I better say thank you now in case the battery goes. Thank you for joining us for the live chat. I do have to do more of these because I do have so much fun being able to just sit here live with all the regular fans, seeing people that we read the comments from all the time, but then here you are live, guys like Brian, and who else? I mean, there's Ellen saying hello. Ellen's been watching. Ben Newman, man, there's a throwback. Where you been, Ben? I gotta fast forward through here a little bit. See, there's Backwoods Baby. I mean, people who are always on this channel, leaving comments. Go for Green Living. Hey, Go for Green Living. Let's see, Texas Boys. Guys, go check out the Texas Boys. I mean, so many good people here. Every time I do these live shows, I remember why they're so much fun to do. So maybe I'll play on like one a month or something. I'm going to look for a few more questions here that I can get quick before everything dies here. How do you get the wild taste out of venison? Virginia K wants to know. Stay tuned, Virginia. Opening day is very soon here, and you'll see the video very soon here, and I will show you. This year you're going to learn a lot about how to make venison work in your homestead. We've never raised Welsh Harlequins. Christina wants to know. Sorry, Christina. We have tried raising our own chicks on farm, raised by broody hens, not Sussex hens. So just broody. We raised a couple with a small, what do you call those? The small chickens? My brain, it's the end of the day. This is why I usually pre-record these. What's a small chicken called? Somebody in the comments, help me out here. Small chicken. Anyway, that we've done that, and then we also have a larger silkies. They are silkies, Bantams. There we go. Thank you, everybody. I knew you guys could save the day. We got a silky that's raising a couple of the Sussex, and also just another big hen that's raising some Sussex. So it totally works. It's a good way to use your broody hens, because those broody hens are hard to break. So just put them to work. And it's so much better to hatch chicks with a broody hen and have her raise them than dealing with the incubator and the lights and all that madness. we will choose a broody hen every time because the broody hen keeps them warm, she keeps them fed, she keeps them watered. You don't have to put a heat lamp in your barn and worry about it burning down. It really works good. So Ben, go for it. Rory wants to know what we think of quail eggs and meat as a homestead bird. Stay tuned, Rory. We have a really good, one of our viewers offered us some quail cages for my son to do a project next year, and I think we're going to do it. So people have been asking for quail and rabbits like crazy. I'm pretty sure someone in the comments said something about rabbits. So stay tuned. I think they're a good idea, quail. They're one of those quick wins. You get meat and eggs really quick from quail, so that's good. I love Brittany's question. Easiest animal to start with for zero experience homesteaders. Chickens are great. You can't beat chickens for simplicity. And I do put kind of ducks in that category if you have the right setup for ducks. But ducks do need some water and they can get more complicated and messy. However, they can yield more for you than the chickens. But really, I mean, chickens are fun to own. There's a reason they're the gateway animal. They are a great place to start. Now, you want to start dipping your toes into larger animals. I don't suggest you start with a cow. A cow is a lot, and you don't know till you know that you're ready for it. I don't think, a lot of people do goats next, but I don't know about goats as a next one because they are so hard on infrastructure. Pigs also can be hard on infrastructure, but I found pigs much easier to fence than goats. Pigs, you just got to bury the fencing. Goats, it's got to be high and tight and really good. We're fortunate here. We have really good fencing, but yeah. I liked pigs second. So, but yeah, you can't beat chickens as first. They do so much. They produce eggs, they produce meat. And I actually think meat chickens is not a bad way to start if you're interested in doing meat, because in 8 weeks you're done, and if you didn't like it, well, you got a freezer full of chicken and you don't have to do it again. And you don't even need to buy a winter coop if you do meat chickens. You could do one of my buddy John Siskovic's chicken tractors, which you can find that at Farm Marketing Solutions, my buddy John. If you're a Homesteady Pioneer, you can get a discount off of his books and stuff. Link below if you want to be a Homesteady Pioneer. I probably didn't put it down there yet, but you know where to find that. Anyway, build one of those chicken tractors, raise them for 8 weeks, and you're done. And then if you liked it but not super, well, take the year off and do it again next spring. That's what I like the meat animals, because you do a spring summer thing, and then by fall you're done and you can get out and do some hunting, which, as you guys have seen, the transition is happening. I'm going from farm hand to guy in the tree right now, and I'm trying to back off on whatever I have here on the homestead. We're not doing any meat animals. We never do them through the fall and winter because I like to be up in a tree. We got our Sussex chicks from family, so I'm afraid can't help you there. A couple people have asked about the Sussex chicks. Let's see here. DDK that I thanked before, they're actually called user Tater Salad. Greetings from Denmark. Love your channel. I didn't see the whole comment. There it is. So, Tater Salad. Greetings from Denmark. Love your channel. I thought it was DDK. I don't know what DDK must be. An acronym that I'm not up on. Guys, help me out. What's DDK? But Tater Salad. Thank you so much. As you can see, I'm going forward I'm very far behind on the comments. When are we breeding Luna? Probably, we've talked about that a lot, probably like 15 months. How many chickens are we raising this year? We'll be doing meat chickens in the spring. We do not need any more egg-laying chickens. We need less. If you'd like to buy egg-laying chickens, we have young ones, old ones, ones that, however the coconut song goes. Email me. You can have some chickens. Right. West Texas Homestead. Do y'all have honeybees? And if not, is that a possible future venture? Good question. Sorry, hiccup. Good question. West Texas Homestead. No, we don't have honeybees. Kay used to do honeybees. She did them with her dad here at this farm. They had all the equipment, and that's a lot of money in honeybee equipment. Everything, and then when Kay moved away, her dad didn't do it without her anymore, so we got rid of all the equipment, gave it to somebody who actually still, I think, does bees, so it's lived on. Excuse me. I don't like bees. I have nothing against the honeybee. They're great. I just don't like being around bees. I got stung a lot as a kid when I worked with my dad, landscaping jobs. You'd be at the end of the day raking up rocks and throwing them in the woods just to get rid of the rocks, and inevitably you'd hit a wasp nest. I know, not honeybees, wasps, and they'd sting you. And I just hate the sound of a buzzing bee around me because I've been stung so many times. Just, I can't do it. When my buddy did them, and I would get close to the bee hive just to film it and like say, hey, how's it going with your bees? I just got skeeved. Maybe someday Kay will do it with one of our kids. She's not afraid. She likes bees. I'm just a bit of a wimp when it comes to bees. So, not going to happen here, but maybe when she's done with cows, if that ever happens. She really likes those cows. And I like those cows. Cows make me calm. Bees make me scared. Quincy wants to know what breed Lacey is. She is a Nubian. She's got the big floppy ears. That helps with heat, getting the heat. They are a desert breed of goat. Nubians are one of the few animals that I think actually does really good dual purpose. I have seen Kay's aunt get a gallon of milk from a Nubian goat, a gallon of milk, that's milking twice a day, morning and evening, but a gallon of milk, and the same line has bucks that are, when I stand up, they're like here on me, and they're just meaty and giant. So that's why we decided to go with Nubians. Lacey's a Nubian, Gizmo's a Nubian, and also I like the fact they're heavy on the hoof. They don't jump. They don't have the same, I don't know, all the La Manchas we've had were just escape artists and trouble. I did not like, and the La Manchas were a ton of stress in my life. And then the other goats we had the little Nigerian dwarfs. You just don't get a whole lot from the Nigerian dwarfs. They're cute and fuzzy, but I want more production, and I want dual purpose if I can get it. And they are one of the few animals I have ever seen actually really well dual purpose. Wow, did I get to all of the questions? No, definitely not. But it seems in my chat here, we have over 100 people. We have never had over 100 people on a live chat. Guys, this has been a historical live Ask Homesteady. We had over 100 people. We had incredibly generous super chats. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the good questions. If you have any more, I haven't lost battery yet. Try to get them in at the buzzer here. But I just want to say thank you for being part of this really historical live chat because we had more than 100 people. That's a first, so I'm really excited about that. What have I missed? I don't see any more questions. Cassie says, thanks for the getting chickens. That's awesome. How about Kiko cross boxers for meat goats? Don't know anything about boxers. Somebody's reminding everyone to click the thumbs up. Well, I can't say no to that, guys. Hit that thumbs up. I'm going to look backwards and see if I've missed any questions because it seems like my phone is not updating. Do you need to train chickens to go in a coop at night, Michael? No, you don't. They have a super good homing sense. You put them in your coop as you're raising them, move them to the coop for a few days before you let them out in free range or, into their run or whatever you're going to do. Put them in that coop. Make sure they know that's home and it's safe. And as long as it's home and it's safe and warm and they have good spot to lay eggs, they will go in there every night. It is something that is in the chicken mentality. They're birds, they like to roost, and when they find a good safe place to roost, that's where they're going to go. Just like a wild bird will build a nest and not forget where it was, they'll know where to go to find their nest. So, yep. How long do we keep our eggs on the counter? Freddie? We don't keep eggs on the counter. I know you can, but we don't, this is embarrassing, we don't eat many eggs. All those chickens out there, it's mostly for my kids to sell eggs. We just aren't into eggs much. Kay uses a few for baking. One of the reasons we're going to downside the chicken flock is because we just don't go through that many eggs. Being dairy cow owners, we have lots of milk in the morning. We do coffee with milk, lattes with milk. You guys know I love me a good latte. We do cereal and milk. We soak oats in milk. Milk. The eggs are kind of like that's for the kids to sell to people. And right now we have a fridge full of eggs because there are way too many chickens and not enough chicken egg customers. So, yeah. My live chat here is not updating on my phone. Let's see if I can make it update. Because then live chat. Hold on, everybody. Okay, we got some new questions here. I knew there were more. How much livestock would you say to have max on 2 acres? Depends on the livestock, dirty hound dog. And also depends on the practice, what you're going to do with them. One of the things we were reading a lot when we were researching on worms was the less land you have, the better off you're raising your livestock, mimicking confinement operations. And don't jump angrily away. And this is when my battery's going to die, I know. But confinement operations, don't say, oh, that's awful, we can't do that. There are some really good, really nicely run confinement operations. Cody from Cody Creelman Cow Vet channel, you can see him drone fly these operations where they're confined, but there's just piles of fresh hay every day for the animals to go in. It's soft on the feet, warm, cozy. It looks better than my barn sometimes. And I'm like, boy, I wish I had as much hay in my barn right now as that confinement operation. So if you have less space, you do concrete, and then on top of that, you put your bedding. And that way you don't have to worry about the problems of worms. If you have animals on concrete and you're changing out the bedding, that's not an issue. You don't have the worries about overdoing it on your pastures. There's some really good practice going on raising sheep and goats on smaller areas with more in confinement, but just nicely. You can confine things nicely. Think about it like, a tent is confining, but sometimes it's cozy and warm and fun, and other times it's horrible, all depending on how you do it. So you can keep animals in confinement, smaller quarters, but just care extra for them and make up for the fact that they're in smaller quarters. That goes with all your livestock. I'm not going to say like every livestock ever. Maybe it doesn't work well with elephants. But basic homestead livestock, if you keep goats in smaller areas, but you give them a fun playhouse to jump on and fresh hay every day, they're going to be happy. So 2 acres, it's really, for a homesteader, you could have chickens, you could have goats, you could have pigs on 2 acres. Even if you had lots of supplements for your cow, and again, good practice treating it like a confined animal, but giving it what it needs, you could have a cow in 2 acres. You could, pick and choose. So yeah, don't let small land stop you from doing what you want to do. You just have to change your practice. We have a lot of acres here, so we can just let those cows out in that field. And we've had Ladybug check for worms. There ain't any issues with her with worms because she can go and eat, and she doesn't have to go back to the same place twice for a long time. We still check her to make sure she's okay. But if we were in a small confined area, there'd be more chaff hay being fed to her, which is it's like pasture in a bag. That's what they call it. There'd be a lot more hay consumption going on. But if we're up for that, if we're up for spending the money on that and we have a way to make that money back, it would be okay to do. So the cow would not be unhappy on 2 acres if you were caring for all its needs and it got to walk around a little bit. 2 acres is pretty much all we were using at Squash Hollow. We were not using much more than 2 acres. We had 10, but we were only using a couple. Couple more questions before my battery dies. I got to go to the iPad here, everybody, because the chat box is just not working on my phone. Did you go deer hunting yet this year? Asset Marketing wants to know. Not yet. Very soon. Stay tuned. Watch that channel. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for the dog training tips. Cindy says, you're welcome, Cindy. How much would it cost to buy land and start a homestead? Oh, man, Jude, that question is so hard to answer. You got to break it down more, Jude. Brian wants to know, when am I going to start using the woodworking equipment? Brian, if you saw the way I handle tools, well, I should get better at it. But I'm not very good with tools. That's why I have my dad come and visit, or Uncle Bourbon, right? Deborah, I got my chicken coops today to get ready for chickens. Good move. Coop before the chicken. I can see my battery's about to die here, so stay with me. What would you say would be the top thing I need to make sure I have first before I get the chickens? Oh man, well, you got the coop. Get the shavings in there, get your water up to temperature if they're chicks, get your food in there, and at that point, you're good. I mean, the coop's the big one. Make sure you have, if you're waiting for infrastructure, get water close to the coop. If it's outside and you can't have it inside a building without freezing, get a frost free hydrant right next to your chicken coop. You can get a frost free hydrant right next to your chicken coop. You will thank me come wintertime unless you live somewhere tropical, in which case, forget what I just said and enjoy life in the tropics. Let's try to answer another before this battery dies. This is kind of fun. It's like a contest, right? Like you gotta beat the battery. All right. Do you use water chicken nipple buckets during the winter? Freddie and Cassie. Freddie and Cassie, yes and no. They are hard, they freeze. They're hard to keep from freezing. So we use those when, okay, let's see how this works. We use those, we put a heater element in them inside of a barn and keep them that way. Brian says charge the iPad. I don't have a charger anywhere nearby, Brian. I'd have to go and then I don't have a, well, I do have a plug right up there. I'll be better prepared next time. We got 40 minutes. This was pretty good, guys, right? Better than what I expected. Duh. um, Jude's question's a great one, but that's like a whole video, Jude. Would I raise pigeon for meat? Irish footballer. Sure. I don't want to, but I don't see any problem with eating a pigeon. Oh, good question, Muggsy. Do you find using electric fencing with your goats successful? Is training them fairly simple? Muggsy, electric fencing goats. You got to train them. It works for some, not for others. We've had a goat that we had the electric netting and they would jump over it and jump through it and I mean anything they could do, go under it, take the shock and just go as quick as they could. I love this battery conversation that's happening. So you do have to take time to train them to it. I think the setup we have, I saw our Nubians back at Squash Hollow. We had the strands by the garden. We had a 5-strand, and that seemed to keep them out once they learned the shock was there. Most animals learn pretty quick what the shock does and to stay away with it. The problem you get into with goats is they can jump and they can squeeze and they will keep testing it. So if you don't keep it electric hot all the time, if you get lazy and turn your charger off and a tree limb comes down somewhere, they will get out. So they do work, but you just got to be vigilant. And as far as the netting versus the strands go, I've converted to mostly strand now because that netting stuff I find to be more annoying to use than it's worth. It's hard to use in the areas you want to use it. It's hard to keep really hot. It's okay for some things. There's purposes for it. At times, it's a tool to use. But if I can use the strands, I prefer the strands. It's easier to manage those, and they seem to not get saggy so quickly, and that way the goats don't wind up jumping over them. So there you go. I say we successfully beat this battery. Ask Homesteady, are you on septic? If so, do you know about planting over a leach field? Good question. I just so happen to be a septic installer for like 15 years. Now, I didn't have my license. That was my dad. He was the licensed installer. But I put in total septic systems for years. He would drop me off with a worker and say, guys, put in the septic. I'll make sure it's right when I get back. And it would be right. It would be good. So, planting over septic fields. First off, there's a lot of different kinds of septic fields. Some of them are gravel. Some of them are, they make now these systems that are kind of like a plastic egg carton-y stuff that's covered with a fabric paper and then pipe running through those. You can put them in sand. Depending on your actual soil at your place, they might be deeper or higher up. So the real thing you would not want to do, roots can cause problems with the septic over time. You're not going to get any like septic in your fruit. You can plant a tree and it absorbs those nutrients. It's not a worry for that. It's for the septic's health. So for the septic system itself, you don't want to plant something that's going to shoot roots down as far as the septic is and the perforated pipes, because we have seen it where roots get into that, clog it, and then you go in there and you root a root inside those things and psh, water comes pouring out all over the place. So a good rule of thumb, if you think about how roots work, a tree is, right, its roots are as deep down as it is high, generally speaking. I know that's not always accurate, but just a quick, like, okay, there's your tree, right? Here's your bush. How deep is your septic fields? If they're down a foot, you could plant some mums over them. It's gonna be okay. If they're down 3 feet, you could plant some blueberry bushes over them. Also gonna be okay. But don't go planting an orchard over a septic system that's a foot in the ground, because your tap roots are gonna go through. It's gonna mess up the system and it can get you in trouble. So learn how deep the fields are, and that's as easy as grabbing a shovel and digging till you find gravel, pipe, or those plastic 8-cartony things. See how deep it is? They're supposed to be installed level, so if it's a foot deep on this side of your property, it will be a foot deep on that side of your property if your property is flat. If your property contours off, it might go from a foot to 6 inches. You could use a laser level to figure out that, or you could just dig down at both ends and kind of average across, see what depth you're working with, and then just choose plants that will be not shooting roots down into the septic. And finally, you want to consider your plants. If your septic is in sand, then it's going to pull moisture away. If your septic is covered with topsoil, which it generally is, if it has a lot of topsoil, then you don't have to worry quite as much if it's good topsoil. It's very rare I get to use that septic knowledge these days. I love when I do. When we first moved to this homestead, it was like, oh, I'm never going to do septics ever again in my life. But from time to time, we get to answer questions and help people out with septic stuff. And I actually really enjoyed doing septic work with my dad, mostly because I liked working with my dad. My dad was a great boss, great to work with, and I enjoyed it very much. The only reason I stopped doing that was because this kind of business is hard to beat for me, and being home with my wife and kids that was just the ultimate. So I had to choose, and I do miss working with my dad, which is why I try to come up with a project. I'll have a project here every couple of months that I need to have an excuse to get him up here, because I love working with my dad. It was good times. But now I get to do that with my son. Because we live here on this homestead, we are working together side by side. Today, we spent the entire day together, me and him, putting up tree stands, putting up ground blinds, brushing them in. And this was the first year, he's 8 years old now. This was the first year I really noticed in him, he just enjoyed the work. He wasn't out there because I was dragging him along through the woods and you got to go with dad because dad said so. He was loving it. He was helping me hang tree stands. We got our harnesses and we're going up, climbing the tree stand together with our harnesses on. We finished the tree stand and we sat in that tree stand. And don't you know, the minute we sat down, my son goes, "Deer!" The first time he's ever seen a deer from a tree stand. 2 minutes after we finished hanging it. And we're sitting up there watching the deer walk by. And that was just so special. And that's why we've made this lifestyle change. That's partially why we moved here, why we do Homesteady, why we do this. And we really can't do it without all of you supporting us in all the ways that you do. Not just from the super chatters. That's huge and that's very generous. We're so grateful to that. Also to you who watch the videos and let the ads play so that we get the ad money from each video. Those of you who share our videos on social media to help our subscriber numbers grow and help people learn about this channel. Those of you who can be Homesteady pioneers, $5 a month. That is the biggest way this show is supported. And just all of you come back and watch the videos every day. That's why we do this. We're so thankful to all of you for being a part of this, helping us get where we are now. And somebody said, please don't ever stop doing Homesteady videos. If you guys don't stop watching and helping in the ways that you do, well, we'll keep making them because this is a pretty good way to make a living. I love doing Homesteady. And yep, I don't have any plans to stop. Big Four Metal Babe says, I do watch the ads. Thank you. Everybody, I beat the battery. I'm going to shut this one down. It's Friday night. I still got stuff to do. to prep for the weekend. So I'm going to shut it down. Enjoy your weekend on your homesteads. Thank you so much for joining us for the biggest live chat we've ever had. Over 100 people. We'll have to do at least one of these a month because they are so much fun. And I went longer than I thought I was gonna. Battery never died. We hashtag beat the battery. All right, we'll see you in next week's videos. I've already shot some of them, and they are fun. You're gonna enjoy those. So enjoy that, and we'll see you